The first 2 years of the Civil War went well for the South. With 2 decisive victories at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, General Robert E. Lee moved his Confederate Army north into southern Pennsylvania. It was imperative to smash through the Union line before approaching Washington from the west. Unsure of the Confederate whereabouts, the Union Army, soon to be under the command of General George G. Meade, headed north towards the town of Gettysburg. Almost by accident, both armies intercepted each other on July 1st, 1863. On that fateful morning, the Confederate Army fired the first shot at McPherson's farm, setting off one of the bloodiest battles of the war. The second day of fighting, the spotlight fell on a group of soldiers from Maine. It was the 20th Maine Volunteer Regiment, led by Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, a Bowdoin College professor with less than a year's Army experience. The regiment protected the Union's left flank by brilliantly holding a hill called Little Round Top against overwhelming numbers. On July 3rd, the final battle at Gettysburg ended with a Union victory. Never again would the Confederate Army fight north of Washington. The Navy has honored the sacrifices of those who fought by naming 2 previous ships Gettysburg. The first, formerly a Confederate blockade runner, was a side-wheel steamship. Captured on November 5th, 1863, she was commissioned USS Gettysburg and performed significant surveying and exploration tasks. The second naval ship was originally commissioned in 1945 as PCE 904. In 1956, she was assigned the name Gettysburg while she lay in reserve. July 22nd, 1989. Prospective commanding officer of Gettysburg, Captain John M. Langnecht, and the people of Bath Iron Works commenced the rally on the Wedges for the launching of Gettysburg. The officers and crew of CG-64 and the general community gathered to celebrate the launching of the newest Aegis cruiser.
There are few names like Gettysburg that evoke such deep memories of our history. If you look at history, you'll see men fight for pay, or women, or loot. They fight for land, or because a king makes them, or just because they like killing. But Chamberlain said, "We are here for something new. We're an army going out to set other men free." Today we launch a powerful ship named for the battle at Gettysburg, not in hopes of land or booty, not for a king, nor for money, but to defend this free ground, this great nation, and each other.
Many battles decided whether the United States would remain a free and independent country. But we in Pennsylvania agree with many historians, and even General Lee, that one battle decided whether we would live in a divided or 2 countries, and that was the Battle of Gettysburg. On a very hot afternoon, July 2nd, 1863, as the battle was turning against the Union forces, and they were losing badly in the wheat field and the peach orchard, General Warren, the Chief of Corps of Army Engineers, the Union Army was still streaming into Gettysburg. He was not a combat or line officer, but he recognized that there was one point in the Union line that at all costs must be held, Little Round Top. And he ran into Colonel Joshua Chamberlain, bringing up 350 men of the Maine 20th. And he immediately requested, because he couldn't order them, they already had orders, to head for General Sickles' Corps in the Peach Orchard, but they recognized, Chamberlain recognized, the validity of holding that hill. And so up rushed the boys from Maine, just yards ahead of Hood's forces coming up the other side of the hill. They met them head on, and with a final bayonet charge after their ammunition was exhausted, they drove the Confederates from Little Round Top and thus saved the Union line.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Navy in Bath as we share in the honor of witnessing our lovely sponsor as she launches this superb ship, Gettysburg. This event also provides us with the opportunity to salute the fine shipbuilders of Bath Iron Works and the men and women of Soup Ship Bath who have worked so hard to bring us successfully to this moment.
It gives me great pleasure to represent the Naval Sea Systems Command and the Aegis Shipbuilding Program today as we join together to christen Gettysburg, the 18th Aegis cruiser and the 6th to be built here at Bath. This ancient rite, which we are about to witness, marks a major milestone in the Aegis program, as 2/3 of the cruisers will then be afloat. And Gettysburg will bring to the fleet the most advanced multi-mission warfighting capability of any surface combatant in the world. In this role, it is the world's most advanced, technically complex, accurate, and successful anti-air warfare system. It is a system that has continually demonstrated its effectiveness during thousands of hours of at-sea testing and hundreds of missile firings at targets representative of current and postulated threats. To others, Aegis is a shipbuilding program which is some $3 billion below budget since the program's inception.
As we've heard, over a century ago at the Battle of Gettysburg, brave Union soldiers from Maine helped ensure the survival of the Union. Now, the cruiser Gettysburg, built in Maine, will help ensure its continued survival. This cruiser will join the fleet as a vital part of a survivable and effective naval force for the 3rd century of American history. On this beautiful Maine summer day, we should each reflect on our good fortune to be Americans, citizens of the most free, the most prosperous, the most open, the most just society in all of human history. Let us resolve to use our good fortune to preserve freedom and extend peace through the world. The Gettysburg was built in the hope that her guns need never be fired in anger. Like all of our fleet, she sails for the defense of liberty and the pursuit of peace. May she sail in honor.
The poet says, "A word caught can make a world appear." And there is, of course, one word that we've heard today that transports us in time to a world long past and will help carry us forward to one yet imagined. Gettysburg, a heroic battle fought to preserve a union. Gettysburg, an eloquent speech delivered to honor our soldiers and to heal a nation. Gettysburg, a magnificent ship dedicated to protect our freedom and that of our allies. Archibald MacLeish reminded us, he said that there are those who will say that the liberation of humanity, the freedom of man and mind, is nothing but a dream. They are right. It is the American dream. And it may be, if I can draw on Lincoln's words, that this world will little note nor long remember what we say here today. But to the men and women of Bath Iron Works who carry the free spirit, the fierce pride, and the celebrated skill of Maine's 20th Regiment, you should know that the free world cannot forget what you've done here today, contributing to the preservation of the peace and freedom and prosperity of the world.
The ship we launched today, the cruiser Gettysburg, is named to commemorate the Civil War battle which was fought in Pennsylvania between the 1st and 4th of July in 1863. The Battle of Gettysburg has been rightly called quote, the greatest battle fought on American soil. It was no less than the turning point of the Civil War. Confederate General Robert E. Lee had personally led 75,000 troops in an invasion of the North in hopes of dealing a mortal blow to Northern morale and inducing European countries to recognize and support the Confederacy. After 4 days of bloody heroism and hand-to-hand fighting in and around Gettysburg, Lee's army was forced to retreat. The Battle of Gettysburg is also notable as the inspiration for one of history's great speeches, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Indeed, the cruiser Gettysburg and its crew have several significant precedents of greatness to follow. The maintenance of America's military strength is essential to deter aggression, and the Gettysburg is well equipped for such deterrence. This Aegis-guided missile cruiser incorporates America's finest technology in ship design, armament, propulsion, and sensors. The Gettysburg is capable of anti-air, anti-submarine, anti-ship warfare. It can provide support for amphibious assault. It can escort merchant or military ship convoys and conduct search and rescue operations. The Gettysburg is truly versatile and the state-of-the-art, the best America can build, and for that we thank the men and women of the Bath Iron Works.
Eternal Father, the Supreme Commander of all the world, at whose words even the wind and the sea obey, we stand with pride before this symbol of what human hands and minds can do. And on this day that we christen the Gettysburg, we are reminded of an even older truth, that they who go down to the sea in ships, that do business in great waters, these see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep.
In the name of the United States Navy, I christen the Gettysburg. God guard and guide all the men who serve on this great ship.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure.
Gettysburg has been rightly called, quote, the greatest battle fought on American soil.
In the name of the United States Navy, I christen the Gettysburg.
was out on Aswick's range, 39,974 yards.
July morning, the craftsmen and women of Bath Ironworks prepared another lifeless hull for launch. Although destined to become one of the mightiest warships to sail the seas, she remained cold steel until brought to life through the blood and sweat of her commissioning crew. At her launching, she was committed for the first time to the maritime world for which she was intended. The ship was named for the pivotal Battle of Gettysburg, which took place in south-central Pennsylvania on July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in 1863.
At the end of those 3 days of conflict, men from every state in our Union lay dead. 50,000 casualties of the 200,000 citizens and soldiers gathered there was a terrible price to pay for those 3 days.
Today we celebrate the name Gettysburg, but not the defeat of the Southern Confederacy. Instead, as President Lincoln noted, we celebrate Gettysburg for the new birth of freedom that the battle's outcome represented.
Partly in an effort to break General Grant's siege of Vicksburg, which both sides knew was a key to Union victory, General Lee devised a plan to invade the North in late spring, to threaten Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington in order to compel Grant to abandon Vicksburg, return to the capital, and defend the city. Other objectives of the invasion were to encourage anti-war sentiment in the North and to persuade Britain and France to recognize and aid the Confederacy by showing that it could invade the North with impunity. The Union Army of the Potomac, by this time under the command of General Meade, stayed between Lee and the capital as Lee swung through Pennsylvania. Inadvertently, the two armies met near the town of Gettysburg on July 1st. After 3 days of fighting in the largest battle ever fought on American soil, the Confederate Army was forced to retreat. It began its long journey back to Virginia on the 4th of July, the same day Vicksburg fell to Grant. Though not immediately recognized as such, that first week in July was a turning point from which the Confederacy was never able to recover.
I want to thank the many guests here today for honoring the crew and their families by your presence. When you consider the freedoms and quality of life that we all enjoy as Americans, please remember that we must depend upon the dedication and sacrifices of these magnificent sailors you see in uniform today and their families who provide them the support and motivation to do the job that they must do. They are truly the reason that allows us the freedom of enjoying being citizens of this great nation.
2 previous Navy ships have borne the name Gettysburg. A Confederate sidewheel steamer named Margaret and Jessie, used by the Confederates as a blockade runner, was captured several months after the Battle of Gettysburg and was commissioned USS Gettysburg in early 1864. The second Navy vessel to bear the name was a patrol craft originally commissioned unnamed in 1945. She was given the name Gettysburg in 1956 while she lay in reserve and held it until 1960.
This cooperation is a clear indication that the scope of Aegis is truly nationwide, and we are keenly aware that we are building ships by and for the American people. She is your ship, and we want you to see her at the beginning of her long and honorable service as Captain Langneck and his crew bring her to life in a few minutes. All America helped us build her, and your sons will take her to sea.
On June 17, 1991, Gettysburg left Norfolk for Philadelphia, her commissioning site. She arrived in Philadelphia the next morning, and her crew began final preparations for the commissioning ceremony. By June 22nd, Gettysburg and her crew were ready. Thousands of friends, crew families, Philadelphians, and Gettysburgians joined the crew and honored guests at the naval base for the ceremony.
The ceremony which you will witness today is a time-honored tradition that started with the commissioning of the United States Navy's first ship, the captured British schooner Margaretta, in 1775. Since that date, thousands of ships have undergone the magical transition from the silent and unmanned vessel, as Gettysburg is before you, to a warship fully manned and alive.
Today's commissioning of the Gettysburg is important because this guided missile cruiser with its Aegis combat system has the capability to perform vital missions in support of carrier battle groups, amphibious forces, and other surface action groups. The Aegis weapon system, which was designed and produced right here in the Delaware Valley, is the Navy's most advanced all-purpose combat system and will be the heart and soul of the fleet's defenses for decades to come.
As authorized by the Secretary of the Navy and for the President of the United States, I hereby place United States ship Gettysburg in commission. God bless and Godspeed to all who sail in her. Admiral Kahune, I proudly assume command of United States ship Gettysburg. Commander Dory, set the first watch. Aye, aye, Captain. Lieutenant Davis, set the watch. Have them stand a 12th watch and tell them to stand proudly. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Wayne Meyer, the father of Aegis, will honor us today by passing along the tradition of excellence that typifies dedication to the men who served in the previous Gettysburgs and the men who gave their lives at the Battle of Gettysburg. By presenting to Lieutenant Davis the ship's long glass, the traditional symbol of authority of the officer of the deck. Captain, the watch is set. Very well. Call the crew to the rail. Aye, aye, Captain. Ship's company, man your ship. Captain, the watch is set, the ship is manned, and the crew is at the rail. Request permission to bring the ship to life. Very well. Bring Gettysburg to life. Aye, aye, Captain. Ship's company, bring your ship to life. Commander Commander Guillory, 3 cheers for all who built this ship and supported us throughout the pre-commissioning period.
Aye, aye, Captain. Ship's company. Hip, hip.
Hooray!
Hip, hip.
Hooray!
Hip, hip.
Hooray! Finally, to my officers and men, thank you for your hard work, determination, positive outlook, and team spirit. You have supported me and your chain of command more than 100%. You are, in large measure, the reason that this ship is commissioned today. The pre-commissioning period has been tough and demanding, but you have been equal to every challenge. In the months ahead, we will face new challenges as we work to bring ourselves and Gettysburg to the pinnacle of readiness required to support prompt, sustained combat operations at sea. We must redouble our determination to meet those challenges. It will always be our deeds, not words, that will produce success in the face of any challenge and keep Gettysburg the high water mark.
What has been said here today about our nation and about our people reminds us of old truths, including freedom does not come cheap. One price of freedom is vigilance. Vigilance in the brave men of the Gettysburg who accept its main responsibilities have their dangers. We are reminded why those who sing the Navy hymn sing, Eternal Father of love and power, our brother and shield in danger's hour. From rock and tempest, fire and foe, protect them wheresoever they go. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril on the sea. And on this day we commission the USS Gettysburg. We are reminded of an even older truth, that they who go down to the sea in ships, that do business in great waters, these see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep.